I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. Lomito! Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Welcome everybody to the Boxing Podcast Special Friday edition. This is a call-in show where you guys get to call in, give us your opinion on everything that's going on. And so we're going to get right down to that. I believe the phone lines are already open right now, so I'm going to put up the number in a couple of seconds right there in the left-hand middle portion of your screen. It will also be appearing intermittently in the big screen every once in a while just so you guys can see it. And we'll get right down to that. Before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way, fellas. You know the drill. If you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so with the Super Chat feature, although it's always better if you join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. But the most important thing is you continue to like, subscribe, and you spread that BDA gospel, alright, fellas? Also, don't forget you can join the Patreon page for as little as $2. You can help finance our independent documentaries that we're making, Boxing's most shocking moments of all time, and some obscure moments as well, the most shocking and obscure moments of all time. I'm currently working on it now. I got a lot done today, so hopefully it'll be coming in here, pretty soon, actually. I don't want to give a timeline just yet, but it's coming. Also, don't forget, if you check us out on Spotify, please hit that 5-star rating. It really helps us out. You can also check us out on iTunes and Spreaker at your leisure. All right, fellas? And that's pretty much it. I want to give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm talking about J.A., Cloudy, The Hand History Vault, J.A., L.O.I., Frank Sinatra, Not, Alan Buenrostro, shout out to him, Rampax Trucking Company, 10-4, one of the initiated, Alfredo Contreras, Grim Reaper, Dark Heido, another one of the enlightened ones, Iron Cuckoo, Jump Tube, another one of the initiated. We got Dora in the house, Benny Gutierrez, Lalo Soto Gaming, shout out to Lalo Soto, another one of the initiated, Padja, Rafael Garza, another member of the BDA organization, Alfredo Contreras, who else we got? Kane Mack, I Hate Never Sobers, which I believe is Never Sobers' new account. We got Amok, Berlanga, and Solodolo. Official Scorecard Boxing in the house, aka Stefka Boxing, shout out to him. And many more people to come, I'm sure. Fellas, thank you for joining us, really appreciate it. Official says, when are you gonna upload the breakdowns? I'm just about to activate, or we're just about to activate actually, the BDA Clips channel. Used to be called BDA Live. And we haven't touched it in a while. So that's where we're gonna be populating most of our film analysis, stuff like that. I got a couple of film analysis to drop myself about Israel Madrimov, so I'll be posting your videos in there as well. We're just going to start flooding that as an experimental channel just to see what sticks. And this channel will be reserved for live streams and documentaries. That's pretty much it. Shout out to Rampax Trucking Company for his contribution with the Super Chat. He says 10-4, at the Hand History Vault. All right, shout out to Rampax. Appreciate it. Like I said, the phone lines are open. Let me just post a number right there in the left-hand middle portion of your screen so you guys can see it. Also here in the big screen right there. There we go. And you guys want to call in, you can call in about anything. It's not just about the title of the video or the episode rather. You can talk about anything that's been going on. Again, the last episode, we tried opening up the phone lines, but for some reason we were having connection issues that day, and so it was screwing up with the phone lines. Or maybe it was the other way around. It was the phone line screwing up the internet connection. Be that as it may, everything seems to be hunky-dory right now. So make sure to call in and give us your thoughts on everything that's been happening in the boxing world. Now, unless, maybe to try to give people an idea of what we're going to be talking about, Shakur Stevenson went into meltdown mode the last time we went on the air. Subsequently, he's gone on a rant and a rampage, decimating everyone on his way. And I mean that decimating verbally. By decimation, I mean he's been very crude and uncouth in the way he's been treating people. He's also been spreading what appears to be a lot of falsehoods. And so we're going to talk about that, because I'm hearing some people saying that he's become a star now. He's become bigger than ever. And I'm thinking, is that really the case? People tend to just say things nowadays without necessarily backing them up, or they'll back them up with a fact, but they won't delve into it a little bit more, or divulge more, or expound upon it, and it just leaves you thinking, well, wait a minute, is this really the case? Let's really think about it. For the moment, let me just go to the phone lines here. I see somebody's already calling in. Let's go to 336. 336, you're on the air. 336, what's on your mind?
Yeah, so Janibek couldn't make weight, so that sucks. I really wanted to see him lynch that fucking weirdo.
Come on,
talking about how he has good genetics. Yeah, that would have been really funny just to see that pretty boy get his fucking face smashed. Anyways, so I guess he's gonna go up to 168, which is cool. I guess he can't make middleweight no more. You got channels like Chump Side and shit saying, are they gonna call Janibek a weight bully, like Haney and all that, in Boots? And he's basically just celebrating a guy going to the fucking hospital, which is just decrepit and low, but that's what you expect.
Man, that's
from
racist,
a channel like that.
That'd be racist. That's what that's what people should say, because that's what they always say. So why not?
It is racist. It is racist as fuck, BDA. Racist with no T. And so I guess the fights that I'm kind of interested. Well, they're gonna have the Tevin Farmer Muratalla fight moved to the main event, then I assume, right?
I suppose, yeah.
Okay, that'll be a good fight. That's actually going to be an interesting fight. Muratalla should knock him out. I want to say this is a 12-round fight because it's a title eliminator. So I think he'll get him out of there between 8 through 10. And yeah, I'm excited for that one. I don't know why people are always talking about the Shakur and Tank fight and how it's the best fight in the division. You got a guy like Tank who doesn't throw, who's going to be scared to get outboxed. And you're going to fight a guy who's scared to get hit. It's going to be a horrid, fucking boring fight. I mean, all these people in the hood, as Shakur said, everyone from the hood will watch it. They're just going to, buy all that money on chicken wings and shit. And then what the fuck am I watching? What is this product? They're going to go to Wingstop and they're going to waste all that money expecting a good fight. It's just, it'll be a shit show. It's a trash fight. I understand why Zepeda does want the WBO shot first. You got to think about it. Shakur, we know he's a whiner, he's a crier. It just didn't work out for him at Top Rank. He can't perform, at world level, especially against guys his own size. He's just not that good. So he's going to be demanding A-side money and all this bullshit. But if Zepeda goes in there and stops Baranchik, which he would be able to do, especially with Baranchik being 36 years old, it gives him more leverage and more negotiating power and stuff like that, so where he doesn't have to take B-side money and accept only 30% or 25% to fight that Amaro bum. It can be more like 50% of the split. Because if Zepeda has a belt, Shakur can't be no A-side, because Zepeda's on a 4 or 5 fight knockout streak. And if you add Baranchik to that list, that's 6 or whatever, right? So then you could argue he's the A-side, or at the very least gets half the cut. So that's why they're not going for Shakur right now. Obviously, it's all financial and it makes sense. So yeah, Shakur and Tank, that fight's terrible. That's all I basically had to say. That fight's fucking dog shit. And I can't wait to see Sky Nicholson and that other girl beat each other up, because I kind of like when girls, try and rearrange their faces and shit. It's hot. That's all I had to say, Tiny BDA, and I'm out.
All right, shout out to you. We learned something we didn't really want to learn, which is Dora gets hard when he's watching women kicking the crap out of each other. Fellas, don't forget to hit the like. The phone lines are open. The phone number is right there in the left-hand middle portion of your screen. And let me tell you something about Janibek. Yeah, when I saw that he missed weight, this dude, well, I don't know if it was him or somebody doing it for him, but he was talking too much crap on Twitter. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm after this guy, you're not the best, I am, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, he's a guy who's got less than 20 fights fighting twice a year. And now he can't even make weight. Hey, that's what it is, man. But yeah, when he said that Afro-Anglo channel was talking crap about Janibek, it's interesting. They talk crap about those guys, but they don't talk crap about their guys. So that's when the disconnect starts. But his fans don't care. He brings up race all the time. They get hard. They get off on it. It's like some sort of a verbal masturbation for them, playing the victim angle. So that's why he gets a lot of views there. But ultimately, it's not a boxing show, so I don't understand why people still are intent on watching that show. There's nothing really much to glean from it. I'll tell you what, though, when it comes to the Shakur Stevenson thing, we're talking about views here. And apparently, they just said a couple of days ago that he actually became the first boxer this year for ESPN to break the 1 million rating bar. Apparently, nobody else before that this year had reached over 1 million rating views. And it's unsurprising because so far, Top Rank's ESPN cards have been subpar. There's nothing really, there hasn't been much that sets you on fire or your expectations of fire or your emotions alight. And so now I go on Twitter and I see a lot of people saying, well, he broke, the 1 million barrier. He's the first guy this year to do it for Top Rank, for ESPN. That means he's become a star, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, again, the lack of context that's going on here, I think we should delve a little bit more into it. First of all, just because you reached 1 million views on ESPN, which is, what is it, that basic cable, right, over there in the United States, that's hardly anything to celebrate. First of all, Terence Crawford, who's a guy that Errol Spence fans specifically for a long time were telling us he's not a star, right? He's not a pay-per-view star, he's pay-per-view stank, blah, blah. When he fought in the fall of 2019, he did 1.4 million viewers, or average rather. That was the peak average, 1.4 million viewers for that telecast, which also included Teofimo Lopez versus Richard Comey. So 1.4, not that far off from 1, right? And again, Terence Crawford, if you looked at these numbers, you could have tried to make an argument and say, whoa, look at Terence Crawford, he's a star. He's a star. But we knew before this, he'd actually tried his hand at pay-per-view against Postol and against Amir Khan, both of which tanked absolutely horrible numbers on pay-per-view, which is why the Errol Spence fans kept saying that he had to take the short end of the money in negotiations, because at least Errol Spence was hitting 300,000 against Mikey Garcia. Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez averaged 2.8 mil. Now, some people could say, yeah, but BDA, this was just against an undefeated guy who had a lot of clout behind him, a lot of hype. This was also during the pandemic. People weren't doing much. There wasn't much to do. People weren't going out, especially in certain areas. Unless you were in Texas or Florida, you were basically on lockdown. But how about when Lomachenko fought Pedraza in 2018? He averaged 2 million viewers. Would you say that Lomachenko was a star? Certainly not. I mean, Top Rank tried to push him as a star. He never actually quite broke through the barrier to become a mainstream star, always fighting in the smaller venues. So, who would have argued that he was a star because he made 2 million views, or he reached 2 million views? He's not a star. When Haney fought Kambosos the first time, he averaged 1.3 million views. So, another example, Evan Haney, a pay-per-view against Prograis. They haven't released the numbers. We've only had rumors about it, and that the numbers were desultory. And again, the fact that they haven't released the numbers shows you that, hey, what's going on? Again, it doesn't prove that the numbers are horrible, but it sort of adds evidence to it and makes you wonder why they haven't released them. Also, another little piece of evidence is when Errol Houani asked Devin Haney, hey, what were the numbers for the Prograis fight? And you saw Devin Haney do the shifty eye, looking side to side, like a little kid who's been caught with the hand in the cookie jar. And you ask him, what are you doing? And he goes, checking for insects or something, some lame excuse. So this whole thing of Shakur Stevenson all of a sudden becoming a star because he did 1 million views on ESPN, it's hardly anything to get excited over. And also, like I repeat, it's because the numbers too on ESPN this year have been horrible. So essentially, he's the best of the garbage bunch. He's the pick of the litter, essentially. That's hardly anything to get excited over. Second of all, now he's got a style it's 2 performances in a row that people disliked. So even if okay, because here's the other thing. Some people are saying, well, he's playing up the bad guy angle now. He's going after Andre Berto, Marcus Brown. He's been going after a whole bunch of people on Twitter, really acting acerbic. And some people are trying to say or defend him by saying, well, it's because he's playing the bad guy role, just like Floyd Mayweather. He's going to be a star now. Again, just because you create a bit of a tussle or of a show on social media doesn't mean people are going to pay to watch you fight, especially when people already know that the whole thing started, his whole diatribe and tirade started because people are calling him boring. So you think now all of a sudden the people that are calling him boring are going to say, hey, now I got to watch him fight. Because look at all the exposure he's getting. That's not how it works. It's relatively easy to get exposure on social media, YouTube, and all these other platforms. But it's another thing to try to get viewers onto a DAZN platform, which you have to pay for, or on a pay-per-view, which again you have to pay for even more. So again, I don't understand why people are getting all excited over Shakur Stevenson breaking the 1 million viewer barrier. By the way, fellas, the phone lines are open, so make sure to call in. Let us know what you think about all of these subjects, and especially the Shakur Stevenson situation. It's very interesting going on here, especially from a business perspective. The other thing is, I hear people say, well, no, but, he's getting hype, and playing the bad guy angle is going to ensure that people are going to pay to watch him lose. People are going to want to see him lose. And I've heard that argument too before. I've heard that argument about Floyd Mayweather, for example, that one of the reasons why he was a big star was because people wanted to see him lose. I don't understand that argument. I never saw that. I never heard that. Whenever I would talk to hardcore boxing fans on the internet, or I would talk to casuals in real life, in person, I never heard anyone say, I'm going to watch the Floyd Mayweather fight because I want to see him lose. In fact, with the casuals, most of the time, whenever I would bring them over to watch a fight at a bar or something live, it was a big event, they would just want to see a good fight. They didn't really know who Floyd Mayweather was. I mean, they'd heard of him because, he was in the news sometimes, or, again, he was a mainstream star. But people didn't want to watch him lose. They just wanted to see a good fight. And hence, why Shakur Stevenson probably will never be a star of that caliber. Because people want to see a good fight, and they know from him they're not going to get it. Now, there could be exceptions, though. That's not to say that any one fight involving Shakur Stevenson is always going to be a dud, ratings-wise. No. I do believe that the Shakur Stevenson versus Tank Davis fight could do good numbers, or decent numbers. Because that's a fight where you got 2 guys that are undefeated, and that's how you get the casuals. Even if the casuals sort of hear through the grapevine that Shakur Stevenson is boring, they see 2 undefeated records. They'll see the highlights of him with the quick hands. He's untouchable. Now all of a sudden you can pit that as the classic boxing dichotomy or the classic boxing rivalry. The hard-hitting guy, the power puncher, versus the pure boxer. And again, 2 undefeated guys who will be doing a lot of jawing. So now in this case, the jawing does help. I think it could do well. Certainly over 500,000. I don't think 1 million, because even from what we know or from what we've heard, even the Ryan Garcia-Tank Davis fight did not do 1 million. That's the number that the PBC lackeys were trumpeting. But that doesn't mean that that's what it did. Otherwise, if he would have done that, or even if he would have done 1 million, like straight up, just on the dot, you can bet your keister, mister, that the PBC would have released the numbers themselves. But no, they did it through an intermediary, like a Fat Dan Rayfield or some other guy. Because they can't tell you the numbers. They can't lie. I mean, either they give you the exact numbers, which are underwhelming, or they straight up lie about the numbers, which is a big no-no for them. So that's one of the big problems there with that. But with Shakur Stevenson, so yeah, again, I don't understand this whole thing of Shakur Stevenson being a star. Just because he did 1 million views and that was the best this year for ESPN, that doesn't mean he's a star. Especially since you had his own home. That's the other thing. The most precarious aspect of Shakur Stevenson's career so far is that he could always fall back to his hometown crowd. Despite his boring style, uneventful style, he could always say, well, you know what? At least my hometown fans will appreciate it because they just want to see me win. And whether I do it boring or not, all they want to see is they want to witness me win. And so that's what they're going to be happy with. Couldn't even do that. People were walking out of the arena. So people are, you lose your home fan base, you're pretty much done. unless he can sort of become big in Japan. If he can somehow become big in Japan, maybe he can survive economically. And that's the other thing with Shakur Stevenson. We're seeing Eddie Hearn with Matchroom and Golden Boy now talking about how they're interested in him. There might be a little bit of interest in a Shakur Stevenson fight or, signing him. I think they're just trying, maybe saying that to butter him up and maybe wait a little bit to try to bamboozle him into a lower deal. Because, again, the deal for Top Rank was 5 fights, $3 million per fight, and maybe a little bit of upside or a bonus or something depending on how he performs, right? Or if he brings in some good numbers. You think Matchroom, they used to overpay. So maybe they will continue the trend. And like what Repet used to say, there's never been a shirtless black guy that Eddie Hearn hasn't wanted to sign. Just as soon as he sees a shirtless black guy, he wants to sign him right away. Oh, this guy could be the next Floyd Mayweather. And so maybe he will overpay with Shakur Stevenson. But eventually he's going to start to end up losing money. Now, De La Hoya just recently came out and said that if Shakur Stevenson wants the Williams to pay the fight, he has to sign to Golden Boy. Which I don't know if Shakur Stevenson is going to want to do that. I mean, the way he's talking now, it seems like perhaps he feels as if he's above that and he can be a Sugar Ray Leonard, Roy Jones type fighter that he doesn't need any one single promoter. He wants to be the quintessential free agent that can do as he pleases and move around vertically, horizontally, diagonally across the boxing spectrum. I don't know if he's necessarily in that position, but it is interesting. So that's what we see with Shakur Stevenson right there. He thinks he's a star. And again, I'm curious to hear from you fellas. Has that ever worked, being the bad guy? Because I tell you, people have tried that before. Other boxers have tried it. Teofimo Lopez tried it. And again, we saw he did good numbers on ESPN. But he's not a star. Every time he fights, when he fought the last time in New York, was it at the Barclays Center? Because I think it was half empty, right? Usually, other than that, he usually fights at the Madison Square Garden Theater, which is not the main room. So you look at that and you wonder, okay, he did well on ESPN, better than Shakur Stevenson. He's not a star. So why all of a sudden are people thinking that Shakur Stevenson, because he did 1 million views on ESPN, all of a sudden that means he's a star? I'm curious. I want to hear from you fellas. Phone number's right there in the left-hand middle portion of your screen. And don't forget to hit the like, please. Hit the like. It really helps us out. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about, we didn't really touch on this in the last episode, is that since now MJ, of course, now he's pulled out of his fight, so apparently Muratalla versus Farmer will be the main event. And that is an interesting fight. That is an interesting fight indeed. Now, are you guys smelling an upset? Curious to hear your thoughts. By the way, shout out to Amak PvP for his contribution with the super chat. He says, we need a tourney of boring fighters. There's too many. I agree. I've often said that. I think one of the perfect fights that should be made at 140 pounds should be Haney versus Christopher Hitchens. No, excuse me, did I say Christopher Hitchens? What's the guy's name? It's Hitchens, whatever, Hitchens. That fight, the winner has to take a 1 year hiatus. Or, just to be safe, 2 year hiatus, so we don't have to see them anymore. Because I'm uncomfortable saying, the winner has to retire. I don't want to take bread away from anyone's mouth. So let's just say a 2 year layoff. Because Hitchens and Haney are cut from the same cloth. Don't really want to see those guys too often. Unless it's against somebody that's interesting, interesting matchup. Other than that, they're not quite the scintillating performers that they pronounce themselves to be. Or announce themselves to be, rather. All right, let's go to the phone lines here. Let's go to 631. 631, you're on the air. 631, what's on your mind?
Yeah, sorry about the background, my bad, neighbors' music. But, what's it called? Honestly, I was a bit shocked about the whole Stevenson thing. A little bit. I'm still surprised that he really thinks, that he's worth more than that contract. I thought that contract was quite generous because I go over in boxing and I think there's no one in boxing that really has that type of deal that's not, the bigger guys like Canelo, Joshua, maybe Davis. I don't know if Davis is guaranteed $3 million up front every single time. And then past that, the whole villain thing. I've seen a lot of people put like Floyd there, but that's not true. When you see like Floyd's fights that actually did well, it's because the other guy he was fighting had a fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Canelo had an actual fan base when he went into the fight. So did Cotto. So did Mosley to a degree. But, you know, when people talk about like fights that didn't really do that well, I hear people bring up the Guerrero fight. I don't remember Guerrero having a big fan base, and that fight didn't really do that well, even though Floyd lies about it probably to this day. Besides that, the fight now. It's really unfortunate that Yanni Beck is out, because that Tevin Farmer versus Muratalla fight, I don't think it's horrible or anything, but I just don't really see it as that competitive. Tevin Farmer is just too small. Maybe if he was a natural 35er, I'd look at it a bit differently, but for a guy that's been at 30, never really had power there, he's going to come up and do what exactly against Muratalla? He doesn't run either, or he just doesn't run that much. So you're going to be in the line of fire for basically the entire fight, trying to roll your shoulders and hopefully not get knocked out.
So you're saying he's not good enough to befuddle and outbox Muratalla?
No, he's not.
Well, there you go.
At least said this way. I don't think... I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it from Tevin Farmer before. If you weren't doing that to Pedraza, I don't think you're doing that to Muratalla.
Well, I'm curious. Have you seen his last couple of fights? Because I don't think I've seen him fight since the Jojo Diaz fight.
I've seen some of the. I've only seen like the what's it called, the clips. But then I'll look on BoxRec, and then I'll see the records, and I'm like, oh, okay. I guess you're supposed to do that to that type of guy.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at it here. He's fought 3 times since. So he's been pretty active. He fought... Actually, what the fuck? This is weird. See, this is why I thought he was retired. I'm looking at his record right now. It says that he lost to Jojo in 2020, right before the pandemic. Then he stayed out of the ring for over 3 years before his return. And
yeah. During that time, they're trying to make a Mickey Bay fight, and they kept getting turned on and off and on and off, and eventually they just didn't have it or something.
Yeah, now I remember. Yeah, like the last minute, like right when they were actually in the arena. Yeah, they pulled out. Yeah, that's weird, man. Yeah, I don't expect him to do much against Muratalla. You're absolutely right. Also, I want to touch on what you said about these fighters, the Mayweather thing. Yeah, because with Mayweather, they used to say, you know, like the caller made a good point. He says when he did good numbers against Cotto, against Marquez, against who's the other guy that here? Mosley, because people thought that they had a chance. Those guys had a chance to pull off a win. So again, my contention is that from my experience, most people pay for the fights. They go on pay-per-view because they think they want to see. I mean, they want to see a good fight. Is what I'm saying. That's what they go out there anticipating. Not necessarily, I'm going to buy this fight because I want to see Mayweather lose. That might be the case, or that might be a secondary motivation or factor, but not the first one. Go ahead, caller. What?
Oh, my bad. You were cutting off for a second. Wasn't so sure. But, yeah, honestly, I think it's almost like the Mayweather fans are so, like, warped in their reality of boxing. They've confused the words, we want a competitive fight, for we want to see Mayweather lose.
Exactly.
And it's kind of crazy, but, I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah, or maybe they're projecting. Maybe they're so enamored with Mayweather that they think that you're right, like that. Anytime anybody wants to see a competitive fight, they think, that they want my man to lose, my king to lose, which is kind of disturbing. Anything else you want to say, caller, before we move on?
Oh yeah. One more thing. It's about Oscar. You know, I've been pretty like hesitant on the Zepeda thing. You know, I've always thought when Stevenson went into lightweight, I thought that Zepeda or Lomachenko would be the ones to beat him. I kind of put a question mark on Loma because, you know, he was kind of old. But, man, I always had faith that Zepeda would put in, like, at least, like, a really good performance against Stevenson and maybe, I don't know, lose, like, a split decision or something. After the fight with Artem, I thought, yeah, he 100% would beat him. But I don't like how Oscar's been, like, playing that whole thing. It's been so weird. I've never seen... It's weird to have a guy that I feel like is such a good stylistic matchup, and realistically, you get so much benefits from beating Stevenson. I know he's not a bigger star, but he's bigger than Zepeda, and realistically, if you beat him, a lot of people would start looking at you. So I don't know why he hasn't like jumped on it immediately instead of all of this weird political nonsense that he said he wouldn't do.
I mean, once you get into boxing, you got to play the game. Once you get into boxing, you got to play the game. Lou DiBella once said he was tired of trying to change the game. He was just going to try to do his best to work around it. That's the realization most of the guys come to. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. All right, well, listen, caller, good call. Who is this, by the way? What's your nickname?
I think the name in the chat is usually like Reyes1.
Gray1?
No, Reyes. R-A-Y-I-S.
Reyes, like Kings. Okay. Oh, Reyes. Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, Reyes. All right. Well, listen, good to hear from you, Reyes. Thank you for your call, and the call back next time. Take it easy out there. Yeah, that's a good point about the Mayweather thing, and he actually articulated it better than I could. That indeed, when a lot of Mayweather fans confused the public wishing to see a competitive fight with we want to see Mayweather lose. And I'm pretty sure there were plenty of people that went to see Mayweather lose, but that wasn't the motivating factor to see the fight. The thing that supersedes all of that is a good fight. I want to pay for something that's going to be entertaining. And it was the same thing with Pacquiao to a certain extent. Again, the reason why these guys become famous or mainstream is because they take on the best. Pacquiao, same thing with the Mayweather career. When he fought Marquez, when he fought Cotto, when he fought Hatton, he did very well on the pay-per-view side. But when he fought Algieri, Bradley, who else? Claudia and all those dudes, he wasn't really doing that well. Which just goes to show you, again, people want to see competitive fights. Those are the ones that usually do the best. But actually, mismatches, most people, even casuals, are going to hear through the grapevine, this fight ain't all that good. And they won't watch it. And they certainly won't purchase it. They might watch it nowadays with the internet, but they ain't going to pay for it. Let's go to the wild card line. We got 111. 111, you're in the air. 111, what's on your mind? I can hear myself in the background.
Listen up, wetback.
Go ahead, man.
Did you think you could get away with talking shit about African-American fighters, you racist? Shakur Stevenson will beat up any Mexican from any part of South America you choose. You understand that?
South America?
We're coming for you, and we're coming for your whole racist organization, Beaner Debate Arena.
All right. Who's we? No, he hung up. I sort of expected him to hang up. All right, fellas, don't forget to hit the like. It really helps us out over here at the Beaner Debate Arena. We also like to talk boxing a little bit, not just beans. And make sure you hit that like. It really helps us out. And it only takes 2 seconds to do so. All right, fellas? Let's go to our phone call. Let's go to 647. 647, you're in the air. 647, what's on your mind?
When will Putin stop the war?
What's that?
Can you tell Putin to stop the war, please?
I mean, I could, but I'm not gonna.
Okay. Because the Ukrainian is champion.
I mean, the Ukrainians, you got to give it up to the Ukrainians. They're pretty good athletes, man. They just take medals up and down every other Olympics, man. Shout out to the Ukraine.
Slava Ukraine.
There you go. Are you in the Ukraine right now? It sounds like you are, man. I hear some bombs going up in the background. Oh, he hung up. All right, a lot of callers hanging up today. They don't really want to converse. Again, don't forget to hit the like. This is the BDA call-in show. The phone lines are open. Make sure to call in. Very curious to hear your thoughts on everything boxing. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 978. 978, you're on the air. 978, what's on your mind?
Hey, BDA, it's Dennis from Boston.
Oh,
I haven't called in a long time. How you doing, pal?
Doing fantastic. Hope you're doing
How are you,
fantastic
buddy?
as well, man. What's up?
Hey, for what it's worth, I don't think you guys are racist at all. I think you're calling it like you see it. Shakur's boring fighter. Gervonta Davis fights nobody. And Peter McNeely's making a comeback. No, I'm only kidding. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing fantastic. I hope you're doing fantastic as well, man.
All is well. How's Jimmy doing? Is he on the line? Is he there?
Yeah, he's not here right now.
Oh, is that right?
Would you like to leave a message?
Yeah, I just wanted to call and say keep up the great work and hit that like button.
Absolutely. Yeah, you fellas out there, hit that like button. It really helps us out. That like button, rather.
Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Thanks, pal. Have a great night.
Oh, that's it? All right. Shout out to you, Dennis. Take it easy, man. I think I was going to have more to say there. But yeah, the Shakur Stevenson thing is really, I mean, again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Although I will say this. When Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney were having their little brouhaha in the build-up to their fight, some people on the Discord were telling me, hey, man, this is actually going to do good numbers. This is going to do well on the pay-per-view because people are talking about it on Twitter. And I was actually kind of apprehensive about that. I said, I don't know about that. Then they said that it was 500,000 pay-per-view buys. And subsequently, I said, oh, I guess I'm wrong. I guess I misread the market. Then it turns out it might have done less than 500,000 pay-per-view buys. So if hey, maybe my ego is hoping that it actually didn't do 500,000 so that I can be right. But whatever that the issue is, I'm still doubtful that just because you get a lot of praise or a lot of eyes on you on social media, that means it's going to translate well into pay-per-view. I mean, Ryan Garcia was doing very well on social media since 2017, 2016. But when he would fight, he wasn't exactly filling up the venues. So again, it's a whole different challenge to get people on social media and then translate that into good ticket sales or even views in whatever platform the fighter's on. So again, this whole Shakur Stevenson is a star now. I don't see it. I don't see it. It would be good for boxing if he could become a mainstream star. But right now, he's a free agent. So how's he going to do that? Look at Devin Haney. Again, he was doing solid numbers on ESPN with Top Rank. And before that on the zone, I'm not sure how he was doing. But he started building himself as a name. Career-wise, he was doing well. Then after that, from ESPN, he goes on over as a free agent and pay-per-view-wise, just not doing that good or that well. I mean, he did well when he fought Prograis in terms of ticket sales, but the pay-per-view tanked. So, again, it's two different things here, fellas, or even three different things when we're talking about social media, pay-per-view, and then regular cable television. Usually, just because you do well in one doesn't mean you're going to do well in all the other categories. But again, it would be good for Shakur Stevenson if he could make that leap. But it's doubtful because even Tank Davis is on the cusp of being mainstream, and he's not working out too well on pay-per-view either. He needs to fight. He needs a solid dance partner to do good numbers. And then on top of that, he's with who's promoting him now? It's not Mayweather anymore. He was doing a horrible job of promoting him. Well, I mean, he was doing a good job insofar as it comes to ticket sales. That you can say that, yeah, it's undeniable. He was doing well in New York, whether he fought in New York or in Los Angeles or in Atlanta. Now, he wasn't selling out. That's a point of contention that we talked about before with Jimmy. He's broken that down as well. But he was doing better than average. Let's put it that way. Much better than average when it came to ticket sales. And even then, he can't break through that ceiling to become a mainstream star. And at least he knocks people out, too, on top of that. So now imagine Shakur Stevenson. What's his excuse? How's he going to do that? And I want to reiterate that I didn't find Shakur Stevenson's performance boring. It was uneventful, but I sort of enjoyed it because I had it on mute. And it was fun to see Hartunian come in and give it his all. He was well prepared. He was throwing different looks at Shakur Stevenson, keeping him guessing. And so it was an enjoyable fight. Not enjoyable as, eating ice cream or pizza or watching Corrales Castillo or Barrera Morales 1. But it wasn't boring to me. But I'm like, being a boxing fan, a long-term boxing fan, is like being an alpinist. You can survive longer at high altitudes. You can sort of sustain that longer than somebody that's untrained for it. And it's the same thing with boxing. Because if you know what you're watching, at least you can find some enjoyment out of a fight like Stevenson Hartunian. Now, no matter how good of a boxing fighter you are, you cannot squeeze anything out of a Shakur Stevenson Nakatila fight or a Shakur Stevenson De Los Santos fight. Forget about it. Those are dead cases. You can't get a heartbeat out of that. But the Hartunian fight, it wasn't that bad. But I understand why a lot of people disliked it. I'm not going to sit here and castigate people or chastise them or lambaste them or, wag my finger at them. Nah, you should have enjoyed that. I don't give a fuck. You didn't enjoy it. Different strokes for different folks. Some people like it slow, some people like it fast. Some people like it fast and then slow it down and then back to fast. I'm talking about eating, by the way. Some people like to vary the speed. Something to do with the digestion. I don't know. Don't ask me how exactly that works. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. It really helps us out. Don't forget to call in. Give us your thoughts on everything about the boxing world going on right now. I wanted to touch on that Muratalla fight too, by the way. Reyes talked about it or touched on it. Tevin Farmer, he's a slapper. When it comes to offense, the guy slaps, and I don't think that's going to really trouble Muratalla that much. But defensively, he can be a problem. And Muratalla in his last fight looked kind of shaky. And this was against, what was his name? The African dude. Okay, you think, should I try to pronounce this guy's name, fellas? Ndogeni? All right. Now, this dude had been stopped by Barboza not that long before. So you expected, or I certainly expected Muratalla to go in there and knock him out, and he didn't. He actually looked kind of flat there. Now, Tim Bradley kept saying that it's because Muratalla has been having trouble making weight. Now, from what I understand, this fight is at the lightweight limit. It's a lightweight fight, same as the last one. So, is Muratalla is he struggling to make weight again? Has he been struggling? It's going to be interesting to see how he handles the guy. Because again, if it's the farmer of old, and he's not that old, he's 33 here, according to this graphic here, he could potentially make it a long night for Muratalla. I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens. But of course, yeah, I do expect Muratalla to win. I just don't think Tevin Farmer's slaps are going to get it done. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't think we've ever seen Muratalla have to fight a guy like that. The best opponents he's fought so far were Nakatila, whom he knocked out in 2 rounds, and the other dude Asavache Nunez, who was undefeated but unproven. None of those guys fight anywhere near like Tevin Farmer. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Muratalla here, how he looks. By the way, the other thing on Muratalla is I'm looking forward to see him fight. Great record, 20-0, 60 knockouts. He's already 27. This is the same age as Jaron Ennis and Shakur Stevenson. And so, like Jaron Ennis, he really hasn't done much with his career. So he needs to really make it happen, make a statement here, and so that hopefully afterwards they finally start getting him in there against a top 10 contender. All right? That's what I want to see. And I think that's something that we all want to see. Let's go to another phone call here. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Really helps us out. Let's go to 410. 410, you're in the air. 410, what's on your mind?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, Jerry, what's up?
Hey. Nah, Shakur, he's not a star. Not close. But he's not alone, man. If you look around the American boxing landscape, there are no stars. Not really, not by any relative metric of what were stars in the past. People don't realize, man, boxing is at a critical low. It still is here in the United States. Foreign markets are trumping us big time, man. There's no real stars. Tank Davis is a little bit more than the rest of the guys. Okay, give him that. But by any relative metric, he's not a big star. Canelo, but you can kind of tell things are wearing thin with Canelo. When he was unifying the super middleweight division, he was averaging about 650,000. Could maybe do a little more, depending on the opponent. The Golovkin fight did, I think, 800,000. Wasn't what they expected, but still very respectable. But it's not the same. It's just not good, man. And Shakur Stevenson's certainly not helping himself, because you can tell that he's got brilliant skills, but he doesn't bring them to the fights too often. And he can say, all I got to do is win, and think that way, but it's not the case. You got to entertain people. If you're a master boxer, box masterfully. People will like that, but you can't claim you're a master boxer and get in there and not use your tools. It's just that simple. He's a disappointment in that regard. He's nothing like Andre Ward or Bud Crawford. Them guys mean fucking business when they get in the ring. This guy, he's a product of his generation. He wants to do as little as possible and think that he's worth a lot of money, doing as little as possible. It's clear he's got the tools. He could have outclassed Artem. Artem's a tricky fighter, I think, and better than what people may be giving him credit for. But still, he could have outclassed this guy and overwhelmed him with punches and probably got a stoppage just by, doing that. But instead, it's fuck the fans, and you claim an injury again, and yeah, come on, man. I don't know where he goes from here, but what I understand, Eddie Hearn is interested in him, but he already said he's not going to pay him. He's not going to pay him what Bob Arum was paying him. And there's no reason to do so.
Well, wait a minute. So, because Shakur Stevenson on Twitter, he's been saying, oh, you see, there's other promoters interested in me. But if they're going to pay him less than what Top Rank was offering, then what's he boasting about?
Because he's a fucking adult adolescent. You know, he's 27 years old. It's too late to call him a kid, even though he's got dimples and he looks young. He's not a fucking kid, but he's immature. He's very immature, and he's especially immature about what people expect from boxers. And I hear people say, "Oh, you're just hating." Nah, fuck that, man. These guys are professional fighters. They get paid a lot of money to do what they do. They know what's involved when they sign up, and that's that. I'm a professional fan. I pay $30 a month for DAZN. I pay $10 a month for ESPN. I buy the pay-per-views. I'm $300-400 deep in pay-per-views just over the last couple of months. So I get to praise fighters as a professional fan, and I get to criticize them. I ain't never streamed a fight. You know what I mean? So the criticism that he's getting, he deserves it. Now, I personally believe you get in where you fit in. So he's going to wind up somewhere, and, you know, he's probably going to have some opportunity, but I think he had it good there with Bob. He was foolish to turn down that deal, which, from my understanding, that deal was an extension offered to him prior to, it was 2 fights ago. It was before that fight where he totally stunk the joint out. What's his name? That's when they offered him an extension. He turned it down. Okay, all right, now we're 2 fights beyond. Fans are all over your ass, and let's see what you can do. If you can do something better, if he gets in there and underperforms consistently, then he can expect to have a very mediocre career. That's it. Big fights. If I was Tank Davis, I wouldn't fuck with him for 1 minute, man. Because A, if you beat him, they're going to be like, well, so what? B, he will stink the joint out, and he'll probably make you look bad. You see what I mean? Okay. And C, he's not a big ticket item. It's not like it's going to be a lot more money fighting him than anyone else. It may be a little bit bigger, but it ain't. You know, it's not like he's some big money fight. I don't even know if I'd bother with him. I'd much rather see a Tank fight Pitbull Cruz in a rematch.
Interesting. And what about in terms of Tank Davis? So you wouldn't like to see Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson, but what about the Lomachenko thing? They're talking about Tank Davis versus Lomachenko. Is that something you're interested in?
Well, I mean, it's not that I wouldn't watch him fight Stevenson, you know, but the thing is am I excited about it? No, not really, because if I thought Stevenson would stand in the pocket and box masterfully and apply himself, I would be a lot more excited about that. But what I'm seeing from him is no. What I'm seeing from him is he's fucking going to run. He's going to run and clinch and try to stink the joint out. If he could prove me different, that's fine. But he wasn't even really willing to engage with Artem, who really can't crack that much at all. You can see that. And he wasn't even willing to really step to him the way he should have been. But Tank Davis is a monster puncher at that weight, man. He's going to spool all night. And as far as Loma, you know, listen, man, that's a better fight. Loma will definitely fight and try to win and use his skills. But Loma at 135 and at his age right now, there's a reason why they want to fight him now. Let's just put it that fucking way. There's a reason why they want to fight him now. They see what others see. Since he's moved to 135, he's gun shy. You got to remember that's his third weight division. So while these guys are just starting at 135 and they're monstrous at that weight, he's at the top end. He's already moved up 3 weights. You see what I mean? And he's 37 years old. So there's a reason why there's talks about Tank fighting him now as opposed to 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, hopefully something good happens in the lightweight division because it's been stagnant for a little bit here. All right, well, listen, Jerry, always appreciate your calls. Thank you for your call, and call back next time. Take it easy out there.
All right, buddy, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, you're hearing it from the consumer straight right there, man. I mean, this guy, Jerry, he buys pay-per-views, and he's telling you that Shakur Stevenson, he'll watch these fights. He would consider purchasing them, but that's the problem. That fact that you have to stop and consider. Usually, if you are selling a fight, you want that reaction. The first reaction is, oh, I'll buy that. No question about it. No doubt about it. I don't even have to think about it. Of course, you got my money. With Shakur Stevenson, people have to think about it. Not good. I'm going to tell you. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. It really helps us out. We're at, 63 likes. This is unacceptable, fellas. This is unacceptable. Get it up to at least 80. 27 people hit that like, no, excuse me, 17. If we're talking about just 80, if 17 people hit that like and we get it to 80, we'll continue on with the show. All right? We're going to take one more call, and I want 17 people to click that like. Otherwise, I'm going to pull out the literature here, and we're going to have a little reading time. All right, fellas? We're going to have a little lecture. Let's go to 205. 205, you're on the air. 205, what's on your mind?
What's happening, BDA? What's happening, y'all?
Oh, Uncle Charles, what's up?
Uncle Charles. Man, let me tell y'all something, man.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough racial relations in this country to spill over into the damn street. But yes, still, Ryan Garcia can go say the N-word this, N-word that. It's amazing to me that he can use that word. But yes, still, when he out in the public, he got 3 brothers protecting his ass. That's what I don't understand. You got me effed up. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Let me tell you something. Let him say the N-word down here on Sunpark Parkway. They had to bring his damn hat to the cemetery. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You don't earn the right. So you thought you don't got you a free card to say what you want to say out your mouth. Now you've been suspended for a year. You can't get a job. Don't worry about it. I don't worry about it at all. They hiring down there, day temp down there. They need a grocery sacker down there right now, and you'll be perfect for it. And I'm gonna tell you something. So every time you get off work, won't you call 3 of your black friends to make sure you get home? That's what I'm talking about. We have enough problems with race relations in this country. We need to start respecting each other and respecting each other's culture. Let me tell you something. I got a white friend here, country boy, big country boy. His name Ryan. I was talking on Monday, then Tuesday he came back. He had 2 of his teeth in the top of his mouth. I said, man, what happened to your teeth? He said, man, I got knocked out by a bull. I said, a bull? He said, you didn't know I was a bull rider? He said, I'm going to show you how to ride a bull. I said, no, hell, you ain't. You know why? Because I need my goddamn teeth. I need my teeth. Instead of saying check, I'm saying check. Nobody understand that because your ass ain't got no damn teeth in your mouth. Everything you say is short. That's all I can tell you about that. Yeah, I got white friends. I got another friend. I got another friend named Ben. Now, Ben is a little bit crazy. Now, I told Ben, I said, let me tell you something. You are destined to die and let somebody else take care of your wife and kids. You can't keep going around here sticking your damn finger in a damn plug. As sooner or later, you're going to get all the juice, and your ass going to be dead. And I'm going to tell you something, bro. Once they see you lying in there, once you're on your way to the great beyond, somebody going to roll up there and knock on your door and play daddy. And that's all I got to say. Man, hey, we need to keep, if you got something on you want to say the N-word, you better watch it. You better watch it, or you're going to get your ass whooped. I'm going to tell you that right now. That is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. Don't try it, because I'm going to tell you something. They'll tear your ass up over here at some point. See, you box. These dudes around here, they fight. They don't mess around. You better get your UFC on. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's all I got to say, BDA.
All right, Uncle Charles. Always appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you for your call. Call back next time, man. Take it easy out there.
Yes, sir.
Better get your UFC on. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, it's bad enough. It's not only about being afraid that someone's going to kick your ass because you said that word, but it's 2 people could get killed. The people doing the attacking, I mean, what if Ryan Garcia's packing a gun? Or what if both guys are packing a gun and they both kill each other over inanities? I mean, it's insane that's the way. This is the point we're at now in the world. Then again, it is an election year, and I'm telling you, the veil is being dropped here in this world of ours. The spirit world and the great beyond is merging with this reality. It would appear. We're seeing more and more UFOs. The idea of UFOs and the existence of their inhabitants is being planted more and more in the subconscious, the collective subconscious, I suppose one could say. And so the more you believe in that type of stuff, some researchers say, the more they start appearing. So it seems like somebody all of a sudden wants to start thinking about that. So that's just one of the facets that we're seeing here in 2024. A very, very peculiar year, to say the least. I'm telling you, talk about synchronicities. Shout out to Sursair. I was just thinking about Sursair today. Before I was doing the show, I said, how come Sursair has been calling in? Says, Isa Cruz has a fight coming up, blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, he comes in here, rejoins and reestablishes his membership program. Shout out to Sursair. Good to hear from him. He says, BDA, give me a big heil. Oh, come on. Come on. He says, give me a big heil for you-know-who. Ryan Garcia is innocent. He was speaking facts. Pitbull Tank 3, hype it up on this channel. Pitbull Tank 3. Oh, he wants to see. He doesn't just want to see a rematch. He wants to see a rubber match too before the rematch even takes place. He already wants to see a rubber match. Shout out to Soothsayer. He says Ryan Garcia is innocent. I don't know exactly what he's talking about. Is he talking about the Article B or Article A? Call in Soothsayer. Let us know. Specify what it is that you're referring to. But shout out to Soothsayer. Always appreciate having him on board the BD organization. I see we're at 81 likes. That's good. That's good. I was gonna pull out the old study here. Monotheism, Yahweh, and the appropriation of Baal. That was a little study that they were doing right there. I don't understand where the Jews came up. I mean, some people say that other cultures around the Israelites borrowed from the Israelites. I think, according to this paper, it's the opposite. The Israelites were borrowing a lot from the other Eastern religions or the Asian religions, and maybe that's where human sacrifice came into place. Or maybe the other ones borrowed from Judaism to get the human sacrifice. I don't know. That's Second Renaissance stuff that we could get into in another show. Don't forget to hit the like, and yes, the phone lines are open, fellas. The phone lines are open. The phone number's right there in the left-hand middle portion of your screen. Let me put it up in the big screen here. Look at that. There's a number. Make sure to call in. Give us your thoughts on everything boxing related. That's the other thing about, okay, so the big news that came out earlier this week was that, yes, indeed, the Tank Davis side is in negotiations with the Lomachenko side. That's the fight that they want to make happen. And it's a good fight, let me tell you. It's a very interesting, compelling fight with a lot of narratives coming into play. But I got to tell you, I would rather see Tank Davis or Shakur Stevenson, because I'm getting tired of Lomachenko having to fight all these young guys. How about the young guys start fighting each other? Can we get that? How about that? But of course, that's not something that they're interested in. But I would be interested in that. I want to see speed versus speed, youth versus youth. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good fight. But as I was saying earlier in regards to Shakur Stevenson, the reason why I enjoyed the Hartunian fight, and I forgot to mention this, is because I had low expectations. I know what to, if I'm going to watch a Shakur Stevenson, I'm already going in there with the lowest of expectations. So the fact that it was a little bit above that, I was okay with it. I wasn't bored by it. That's why. So I think that's what everyone should be doing in the future with the Shakur Stevenson fight. If you choose to watch his fights, hey, go in there with low expectations. Because if you go in there, I don't know, guys. I think maybe some of you believed Shakur Stevenson when he said that he was gonna, really deliver a show and blah, blah, blah. I knew he was going to try to fight Hartunian aggressively, just like he said. And I did expect, in a way, a knockout. And though I suppose I could be disappointed with the fact that there was no stoppage, nevertheless, for all 12 rounds, it was a nice competitive fight. So that's why I enjoyed it. And again, I knew that Shakur Stevenson, anything other than a Nakatila-type performance was going to be okay by me. And I was expecting something boring, even though he said he was going to fight aggressively. You never know. I was thinking too, well, what if he says he's going to fight aggressively and then he gets hit once and he gets on his bike? But he didn't do that. So guys, next time you go watch a Shakur Stevenson fight, go in there with the lowest of expectations, and that way you won't be so pissed off afterwards. That's my advice. Shout out to Sean Anthony for his contribution with the super chat. And he says, what's he saying? He says, the lizard people are always watching. Oh boy. You're getting me paranoid here, Sean Anthony. I don't know about that. Are the lizard people watching? I hear that supposedly there's this anecdotes that people get paralyzed when the lizard people step into the rooms to, do the anal probing and all that. And that supposedly if you say the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, supposedly they leave the room. They can't handle it. Or is that the Greys? I forget. I'm getting confused over here. I'm like Joe Biden. I need a nap. But shout out to Sean Anthony for his contribution via the super chat. And like I said, fellas, don't forget to call in. Give us your thoughts on everything that's going on here in the world of boxing. The other thing that's been making the run. Okay, so I want to see Shakur Stevenson versus Tank Davis. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to think about that. I know most of you probably would rather see Lomachenko in there with Tank Davis, because at least Lomachenko is going to push the pace and try to make the fight happen. Whereas Shakur Stevenson is probably going to try to run as soon as he sees that Davis is just too fast, or just as fast as he is, but with superior firepower, and maybe it turns out into another De Los Santos fight. And I gotta tell you, that Hartunian fight made me rethink whether Shakur Stevenson can beat Tank Davis. If I were to be pressed into making a pick, let's say that Stevenson versus Davis was announced for 3 months from now, whatever. I would still pick Shakur Stevenson, but I'd be a lot less confident in that prediction now, and I'll tell you why. Yes, Davis and Hartunian are completely different fighters. Hartunian, I actually think, is better at staying in the pocket and fighting more without having to move as much as Davis does. His combination punching is also better than Tank Davis. Tank Davis has quick hands, but you'll never really see him, string in the combos. Now, some people say, it's because he doesn't need to. BS. I've seen him try. They're quite rudimentary. Whereas Hartunian was stringing the throwaway shots here and there, and then boom, would finish the combo with a hard shot, which is usually what you want to do. You always usually want to finish with the hardest punch possible. And so I was watching that, and I saw that Shakur Stevenson can transition well from defense to offense. So that's a problem, because if you want to beat Davis on the cards, you have to really separate yourself from his performance and from what he brings to the table. Otherwise, the judges are going to take it away from you. So that's why I am now hesitant. Also, Jimmy was one of the guys that was always saying that Shakur Stevenson has one of the best jabs in boxing. And I never really saw it. He never really flicked, put it out there. I mean, every once in a while when he would throw it, I was like, okay, I understand where Jimmy's coming from. But what's the use of having a good jab if you're not using it? And that's what we saw against Los Santos. Fellow southpaw, so that jab should have been getting in there, and it wasn't. And so I'm thinking against Tank Davis, okay, yeah, Tank Davis is a shorter guy, but if you weren't getting that jab in there against the Los Santos, are you really? Is Stevenson really gonna get in there against Davis? I don't know. I'm dubious now. I'm very dubious. Hence why I'd like to see the fight. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but it's an interesting fight to see, and I would certainly pay for it. Even though I wouldn't expect fireworks from it, I would enjoy watching that fight. But again, they want Lomachenko. They want to have that lineage of, hey, I'm the one that beat Lomachenko better than everybody. That's what Tank Davis would probably going for. But the problem with the Tank Davis too is a lot of people, now the narrative is that Tank Davis gives away rounds willingly because he's downloading the data. That's what I've been hearing people saying on Twitter. Yeah, man, he downloading the data. He be downloading the data. And then once he hits you, that's it. It's a good night. Well, first of all, he never really knocks people out cold with one shot. That's sort of a myth that some people, not everybody, not a lot, but some people are pushing, some Tank Davis fans. But if he hits a guy once, that's it. They're going bye-bye. I mean, Ryan Garcia got hit with a wallop of a left hand. He got up and started pressing Davis right back in the following round. It took Davis a whole bunch of shots to knock out Olga Gamboa out, and not even out, just finally get the ref waved it off. Same thing against Barrios. The only one really he's iced in the last couple of days or years was Santa Cruz and Frank Martin. So I'm not saying, obviously I'm saying he does have power, but this idea that he's just gonna show up against Lomachenko, lose all these rounds, and then land one shot and boom, it's over. Against a guy like Lomachenko, who was walking Teofimo Lopez down, by the way. A much bigger guy than him. Later rounds, when you're supposed to be a little bit more tired, you don't see the punches coming. He was walking Teofimo Lopez down and blocking the shots quite well. So I think Davis is probably going to be shocked at how good Lomachenko's defense is. I think a lot of his fans are going to be shocked too. Of course, if Lomachenko wins a decision, at least in the ring, and Davis gets the decision, don't expect his fans to admit it. It's going to be a Haney situation all over again. The judges, you can't argue with the judges. But again, people can't come at me now anymore with the you can't argue with the judges. Because after Tyson Fury versus Ngannou, I heard a lot of people, a lot of Devin Haney fans saying robbery. And then after the Yoshaki Foster-Conceição fight, I heard a lot of people saying robbery. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I thought you couldn't argue with the judges. I thought there was no such thing as a robbery. Which, by the way, I've never heard that before. I've never heard that argument before. There's no such thing as... I've been watching boxing for like 20-something years, 25 years. And I've talked to people who've been watching longer than that. And I don't remember anyone ever saying, hey, you can't argue with the judges. They're professionals. They had training. You can't do that. What's the matter with you? Lock this guy up. He's saying you got to argue with the judges. Yeah, that's not right. I've never heard that before. But all of a sudden now, when their guy gets a gift decision, oh, hey, there's no robberies, guy. Come on, man. Stop causing trouble. Fellas, don't forget to hit the like. Really helps us out. Let's go to the phone lines here. Let's go to 925. 925, you're on the air. 925, what's on your mind?
What's up, BDA? This is Richie Rich. Just want to talk a little bit about the card this past weekend. I had my attention on the weak-ass Nate Diaz fight, bro. I think I went with the wrong decision because that shit was boring, man. All those fighters sucked. I mean, shout out to Carmel Moulton, bro, because he was the only true fighter who looked like a real boxer on that card. The Sean and Vargas, that was a pretty entertaining fight, but Vargas, he fights a little funny. He fights like a mad high school guy. You know, wild shots, just crazy. Sean looked pretty good, but he wasn't doing anything, you know. He probably should have jumped on some steroids like his brother. But, man, yeah, I should have went with the Shakur Stevenson fight or that Cabeda or whatever the hell his name is, Zavala. I should have went with that because I heard that was a good fight. I still haven't watched them, but I'm going to go back and watch them.
Yeah, so
about...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and then I was just going to touch on Shakur. I just feel he's a good fighter, technical fighter, really skilled, but I just think he don't have the balls to just go up there and fight. He just wants to look good and not get touched and jump on that Mayweather train. And, yeah, it's boring and fans want to see something else, but if he keeps winning, he's going to do good. But I feel like he'll have more respect if he were to go toe-to-toe with somebody. You know, I feel like like Pacquiao, he has losses, but when he goes in there, he has heart. He fights. He gets dropped. He gets back up. And people, like, real boxing fans, they respect that. I would respect that more if he goes in there, gives it his all, try to get a knockout as opposed to just win by points. Let me jab. Let me move away. No, that's some bullshit. You know, us boxing fans want to see more than that. And I think he needs to step it up.
I agree. And, the worst thing is, though, one of the most terrifying things, at least the way I see it in life, is when you give it your all and you still fail your objective. Now, there's nothing wrong with failing because there's always a solution down the line to whatever it is that you're looking to solve. But in this case, he really did try to stop Hartunian, who looked a little bit shaky in the later rounds against Frank Martin. So that's why I expected Shakur Stevenson to be able to build off of that, and he couldn't. And that's the most worrisome aspect. I think that's why he's so angry, because he actually did try to make it entertaining, and he wasn't. And he can try to build himself up and say, no, it was entertaining, but it's not up to him to decide whether it's entertaining or not. It's a value judgment. It ultimately comes from the fans, and he cannot change the fans' minds. And I think that's why he's so pissed off. So I don't know if he can step it up. I think that was the most entertaining you'll ever see a Shakur Stevenson fight.
Man, that'll be unfortunate, you know, because he's skilled and yeah, we definitely got to see more. He's pretty good, and if he were to fight Tank, oh man, that'll be a good fight. I think I would go with I have to go with Shakur on that one though, because as you've seen with Tank and Martin was winning the whole fight. Martin was winning every round until he got knocked out. So I feel like with Shakur, the same thing would happen. He'll touch him up. Tank would try to get a knockout, but I think Shakur's too skilled, and he won't be able to knock him out. So I think with that one, Shakur, I got my money on Shakur on that fight.
Well, there you go. I mean, I'm with you on that one. Although I wouldn't be too confident, but I think I'd still pick Shakur Stevenson in that one. All right, Richie Rich, anything else you want to say before we move on?
Yeah, I just made a boxing Instagram the other day. It's called Punch Talk Boxing, so everyone go follow because I'm trying to get my numbers up. You know, I'm tired of posting on my regular Instagram and people don't reply because I don't have a lot of boxing friends. You know, so follow my page so we could talk boxing and grow my numbers up. And yeah, I'm ready for them all. I say boots and 6.
There you go. All right, Boot. All right, fantastic. Good to hear from that. And yeah, everyone go follow Richie Rich over at Punch Talk Boxing over on Instagram. Let's go. Like Daniel Dubois said, let's go.
All right.
Let's go. All right. Thanks for your call, Richie. You too, man. Take it easy out there.
Talk to you.
All right, that was Richie Rich right there. Don't forget, like I said, Punch Talk Boxing over at Instagram. Make sure to check him out. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. We're at 88 likes right now. If 12 people can hit that like, that'd be fantastic. It will get us to 100. That's the magic number, like Bob Doro used to say. I mean, actually, 3 is the magic number, but let's make it 100. Why not? It's 3 digits, so it's almost the same thing, right? 100. Let's get it to 100, please, fellas. Really appreciate it. Let's go to a phone call here. Let's go to 410. 410, you're in the air. 410, what's on your mind?
Yeah, what's up? It's me again, 2 times.
Hey, what's up,
buddy? I just got to add, Shakur Stevenson, people think, he's got this attitude, if I just keep winning. No. That's the difference between $3 million or $2 million a fight and $13 to $15 million a fight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you keep winning, someone's going to air your fight somewhere. But these fighters that think that's all they got to do, they're sadly mistaken. Boxing is like any sport professional. It's sport entertainment. People want to be entertained. I didn't expect them to knock Artem out. I said on the show last week, he doesn't need a knockout here. What he needs is a good performance where he's exciting. You see, if you're a master boxer, great, be a master boxer. That means you have to box masterfully, not 30 seconds in one round and then 4 rounds later for 30 or 40 seconds. No, if you're going to be a master boxer, box masterfully. It's just that simple. This guy has got no dog in him. That's what I see in him. I don't know what, he's got no dog. And if he fights Tank Davis, it's just he's going to spoil the whole second fight. I mean, he's going to clinch and he's going to run. I mean, if he wouldn't step to Artem, who lacks any real punching power, what's he going to do with Tank Davis?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm no longer as confident as I was that he beats Tank Davis. I would still pick him, but I'm telling you, I wouldn't be all that confident. And you're right, the dog. It's all about that dog. He doesn't have it. Or he appears.
No, he's not beating Tank Davis. And here's another thing. The only way I even see him getting the fight is if he signs with PBC. If he was a big star and he signed with Matchroom, they will maybe make a cross-promotional fight, but that's not going to be in the works for a cross-promotion with him. He doesn't have enough fans. So if he's to get that fight, he's going to have to sign over there, which means they're going to be the lead promoter, which means he's going to have to knock Tank out to win a decision. He's not going to clinch and move and spool and run and think he's going to win a decision against Tank Davis. That's not going to happen, especially considering he's going to have to sign over there to probably even get that fucking fight. So it's not going to happen. But I also want to add this. Canelo talking about Eubank, that's pure garbage. Canelo needs to fight David Benavidez. We have to hold the top representatives of the sport to a higher standard, and that goes for him and Bud Crawford, because Bud Crawford's about to fight a guy that's got 10 fights. 10 fucking fights. And I keep hearing people trying to blow this guy up. I went and watched him fight this guy, Eric somebody or another, this black guy. This guy's got very crude skills. He's strong. You can see he's strong. He's green bean 154. That's what he is. He's got 10 fights. And here we got the consensus pound-for-pound fighter, #1 in the world, fighting a guy with 10 fights. Canelo talking about Eubank is garbage. I'm not buying that shit, man. Those guys can kiss my ass. So boxing's really pissing me off lately with this bullshit that they're forcing on us, and it just gotta keep paying and paying and paying. This Crawford fight is a pay-per-view on the zone, from what I understand. I'm paying $30 a month. I just had $80 taken out of my account for 3 months, and you're telling me that's a pay-per-view fight? Come on, man. Anyway,
I'm with
that's
you.
all I got, bro. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for your call. Thank you for calling back. Take it easy out there. Yeah, that Crawford fight, at least it will have a good undercard. And Madrimov, even though he's got less than 20 fights, some of the guys he's beaten are solid, and he's beaten them in convincing fashion. So I'm okay with that. Canelo, Eubank, I'm gonna get into it later if I have the time here. But yeah, come on, I mean, maybe if you're tired, if you enjoy seeing Eubank Jr. get the crap beat out of him, yeah, then you would probably pay for it. But I mean, when there's other, it's for me, it's either fight Benavidez or fight Crawford. But that's supposed to be the deal. Apparently, he's gonna fight one of Eubank, or who was the other guy that he was gonna fight? Berlanga, and then later this year another fight. So if that last fight of the year is a solid one, then okay. I fight whoever you want in September or whatever. But otherwise, if it's Eubank and then Berlanga back to back, screw that, man. I mean, you're wasting our time at this point. I don't care if you're pound for pound biggest star in the world, blah blah blah. You're not getting my money for those types of subpar fights. I'm sorry. Especially again, what are we talking about? What's the theme of this? That's been circulating throughout this episode? Entertaining fights. Fights are going to be competitive. Now, yeah, Canelo, he used to be competitive, but now his fights sort of tend to be uneventful. He can hurt guys, but then those guys get in the defensive, and he's not active enough to get them out of there, so it just becomes round after round of him throwing the sledgehammer. Again, not the worst fights in the world, but pay-per-view? Is that what we're talking about here? Pay-per-view? So that's one thing right there. The other thing I wanted to keep touching on the Davis thing. Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson. That's what I don't understand. When people, again, we're talking about also narratives, how people twist things or they say things they don't really think about them before they tell them or they say them. For example, Tank Davis. One of the things we hear about him is that he gives up rounds. He's not giving up rounds. He's just losing the early rounds, and it's not because he wants to, but it's because he probably feels like he's got no choice. In other words, what I'm trying to say here is, yeah, he's a slow starter. But when you're losing the 4th, 5th, 6th round, that's no longer a slow start. That's just you not being able to do what you can. He's been content so far in getting that big bomb across. And so far, in a lot of his fights, he's managed to do it. But think about it, really sit down and think about it. Who's he managed to do that against? Against guys that were compromised in Ryan Garcia and Barrios with rehydration clauses, or with guys that were older or smaller, like Leo Santa Cruz, smaller, Hector Luis Garcia, smaller. I mean, the only real guy, young guy that was bigger than him, that he knocked out without any rehydration clause, as far as we know, was Rolly Romero. And I mean, come on, Rolly Romero, the guy that Isaac Cruz just demolished, the guy that was getting beat up by a old Ismael Barrosos and needed the referee's help to bail him out. Tony Weeks, by the way, never forget Tony Weeks' horrible call in that fight. So yeah, Tank Davis is getting it done against these dudes. But it's very Deontay Wilder-esque, losing almost all the rounds and then bailing himself with one shot. Eventually, that's not going to work anymore. And if it doesn't work anymore, what's plan B? So again, when people go, no, he's giving up the rounds. He's not giving up the rounds. They're being taken away from him because he cannot fight at a high output pace. And he's going to get exposed. That's going to get exposed one of these days. Just like we sort of told you that Shakur Stevenson wasn't all that. During the height of Shakur Mania, when people were saying that he beat everybody between 130 and 140. Some people were saying the only guy who can really beat him is Terence Crawford at welterweight. Now they're saying the only guy who can beat him is Jaron Ennis. I've heard some Tank Davis fans say the same thing about Tank Davis. He beats everybody from 130 to 140, and the only guy who can really beat him is Jaron Ennis at 147. Meanwhile, Davis is trolling against a dehydrated Barrios. Ryan Garcia is giving him the business. Hector Luis Garcia is giving him the business. Santa Cruz is giving him the business. Isaac Cruz almost beats him. But he beats everybody. The only guy that can challenge him is Jaron Ennis, apparently. I mean, talk about delusion. Talk about insanity. Fellas, I don't know what world some of these people are living in. I mean, it's quite bizarre, to say the least. The other thing that I wanted to talk about here, don't forget, fellas, the phone lines are open. The phone lines are open. Make sure to call in, give us your thoughts on everything going on in the boxing world right now. Where are we at with the likes? Oh, hey, wait a minute. I said we needed 100 likes. 100 likes. We're at 94. Fellas, please hit that like and get us to 100. If you don't get us to 100, I got monotheism. Monotheism and Yahweh's appropriation of Baal. You want me to read from it? I see we're at 95. Come on, 5 more people. If within the next 5 seconds I don't see it to 100, I'm starting reading. All right, 5 seconds here. 4 seconds. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. Oh, we're stuck at 99. All right, so I guess somebody out there wants to hear about this. Okay, so to understand the typology of biblical text dealing with the appropriation of other gods presented in chapter 3, it must... 101 likes. All right. You guys, you saved yourself this time, all right? Whoever hit that like, shout out to you fellas, really appreciate it. And other people should be thanking you as well, because you guys bailed them out. We go back to the boxing. Another thing that I want to talk about here is real quick, there was some news coming up on. Oh, yeah, so Mike Oppinger says that supposedly Jose Ramirez and Barboza are finalizing a deal for a junior welterweight showdown for September the 28th, taking place in Las Vegas. Now, what's interesting is this would be taking place on the Zone. So that's two guys that used to be on Top Rank, and that Top Rank didn't really know what to do with or how to work with them. And so now they're fighting over at the Zone under the Golden Boy banner. And again, it reminds me of the Shakur Stevenson thing, because again, Shakur Stevenson was complaining about, first of all, he's hyping up the numbers, right? Hey, I'm the first guy this year to break 1 million for ESPN. Okay, so doesn't that mean that Top Rank was pushing you? Because that's what Top Rank and ESPN were doing. They were always talking about how Shakur Stevenson was the next great thing, the anointed one. So I don't understand. Does he think that he got all the way to where he is now by himself? They gave him good fights. They gave him the Conceição fight. They gave him the Valdez fight. They gave him the Herring fight. So does that sound like a company that's not looking out for you? Again, this dude is delusional. And also in the last episode, we debunked one of his tweets where he said that Mark Kriegel, whom he referred to as his boy, was asking, and I quote, mostly negative questions. So we re-listened to the interview. There were no negative questions. In fact, Kriegel was making an effort to lick Shakur Stevenson's taint throughout the interview, telling him how, I heard some boos. I don't understand why. So he was defending Shakur Stevenson. Then he tells him at the end, it was a pleasure covering your career. I'm thinking, how do you glean negativity from those comments? You have to be insane. You have to be a perpetual victim to be thinking that way. And that's what Shakur Stevenson is. He's a perpetual victim. He's been spoiled. And that's something that you see from guys like Tank Davis, who doesn't want to fight in Saudi Arabia, at least so far. Devin Haney crying about pay-per-view numbers and wanting to get paid more. And I don't want to fight my mandatory unless I get paid this amount because, this fight's beneath me, blah, blah, blah. That's what we get from some of these American fighters. Ryan Garcia, who for all intents and purposes is American. Another dude, completely spoiled. And a psycho on top of that. So, I quake for the future of some of these American fighters. Then again, you got guys like Bam Rodriguez, who's Mexican-American, and he seems to be doing just fine. So I guess not all hope is lost. But again, yeah, so when Shakur Stevenson says, Top Rank, woe is me, they were besmirching me. How about the other guys who failed to break 1 million views on ESPN this year? Is that Top Rank's fault too? I would say so, but not because they weren't pushing for them, but just because the matchups were so horrible. I mean, come on, Teofimo Lopez Claggett. We actually dodged a bullet tomorrow with Johnny Beck missing weight because that fight was going to suck. The dude that he was fighting is a nobody. And when you usually will never hear me call a guy a bomb, tomato can, blah, blah, blah. But this guy was a nobody because he'd never fought beyond the 10th round. He's never beaten anybody of note. I think he's already an older guy, like 28 or 29 or something. I've seen him fight on YouTube. I've seen his fights on YouTube. He's not that good. So it was a completely... I was aghast that fight was even on as a main event. So it being postponed now or just completely canceled... I'm telling you, we dodged a bullet. Fellas, don't forget the phone lines are open. Call in, give us your thoughts on anything and everything boxing. Let's go to the phone lines here. Let's go to 513. 513, you're on the air. 513, what's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, man?
What's up, 513? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, that like you said, man, these guys, man, they got it. I think that Vasyl Lomachenko, Tank Davis, we're looking at one of the greatest fights of all time right there. Because you got to think this is by far Tank Davis' toughest opponent, right? And this guy never been knocked out. So look for a controversial split decision victory by Vasyl Lomachenko on Foreign soil.
Well, what do you mean by controversial?
Yeah.
You mean controversial that both the fans of both guys are going to say their guy won, or are you saying that it's going to be controversial because one guy clearly won, but he's going to get robbed?
Yeah, if he don't knock him out, and Lomachenko, they're going to want to, even if Tank ekes out a close decision, you got to give it to the veteran. You know what I mean? A little makeup music for the, Devin Haney performance. You know how boxing works.
You know what?
I think that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something to what you're saying there. Yeah, it's true. There's guys that get stiffed 2 times in a row, and then all of a sudden the establishment sort of gives them one just to try to give the impression that, hey, we're all fair and balanced over here.
Yeah, we gonna see what's gonna get him the victory is the this Lomachenko cat. You cannot hit him flush with them bombs. And if you can, you got to show me. I just don't think it could be done. I think this is the big money fight. I think it's going to be one of the best fights. You know what I mean? But I think it's good because, like you said, Lomachenko probably would have beat him easier 5 years ago. Now Vasile gets his full credit for getting the victory at beating the 29-year-old Tank. You see what I mean? This put him. This erases all 3 losses by Lomachenko, right?
I mean, it should because, I mean, people are rating Tank Davis very highly. So if Lomachenko beats him, I mean, they should give him his credit. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just trying to show you that this is what's going to happen because, you know, look at his. So who is his toughest opponent in your opinion, Tank?
I mean, from the guys he's fought so far? I would have to say Frank Martin.
Oh, he's better than Ryan and Mario Barrios?
Well, I mean, yeah, but there's an asterisk with those guys because they had rehydration clauses on them. So I really don't know how good. I could speculate about, well, maybe they were as good as they were ever going to be, even with the rehydration clause, but I don't know.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's a good one. Frank Martin he's solid, but he is very inexperienced. He had half the fights Tank got. Now you're dealing with somebody, you got to understand the reason why they never wanted him in there with Lomachenko in the first place is because of the experience, sir. He would, you know, the Money Mayweather admitted that they couldn't beat him. That's well, I'm going to set up the Lomachenko fight tomorrow, you spoiled brat. Let me call Lomachenko, man. Don't do it, Daddy. No. He's young. I'm old. You remember that? That's what Tank ain't know how to talk. He young. I'm old. Listen, I'm going to just let him get a little bit older, and then maybe I can get younger, and then we can get older together. The reporters was confused.
Well, let me ask you this though, caller, because I'm trying to get people's opinions on this. I'm really trying to put my finger on the pulse of the boxing world. Are you at all interested in Shakur Stevenson versus Tank Davis?
No, not before. No. After this one, this is the major fight. We got 2 killers. I want 2 killers fighting, and then let Shakur get in there. Because Shakur, no. Shakur just, man. He's a sucker.
Come on.
He's not loyal. You see what he did at the Lomachenko fight? Everybody knows that Lomachenko won. But then he come back the next day. Well, I just watched the fight, and I think it was a draw. Pick a side, boy.
Well, come on.
Who nuts you want to ride today, Shakur?
Doesn't he have the right to change his mind?
No, you don't. You only get to judge. That's what I'm saying about it. Just stop watching the fight. If you watch a fight, you only judge it at one time. You don't go back and check. The judges don't get to do it. What judge say? Well, yeah, I watched it again. I think Lomachenko won. No, you only get one time to judge. Your first viewing is what you thought. You can't go back and say, well, I thought. No, it's a close fight. And I told you when I watched the fight real time, it's close. It could go either way. I didn't know which one won. Devin got this. No, it was that close. It came out just like it was. 114-113, a close fight. So that means it could have went to Lomachenko or Devin Haney. People got to stop crying because Ryan showed you how an ass whooping looks. And Lomachenko just beat the brakes off of Kambosos. So if they would have did that to Devin, yes, he would have won. But that close ass fight and Lomachenko taking off the 12th round, he lost by 1 point. Ryan showed you how to whoop his ass. So I hate when people say he got right. No, Ryan showed you how to take the judges out the fight. They even tried to rob Ryan, and he still won because of the knockdowns. See what I mean? You don't have to rely on judges.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's
all in your hands.
There's a certain benefit to knocking somebody out. That's absolutely right. All right, well, listen, caller, good call. Thank you for calling in.
Yep, thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Call back next time. All right, call back next time. Man. Take it easy out there. All right, yeah, listen, I wouldn't mind seeing Shakur. I mean, I actually told you earlier on, I actually rather see Shakur Stevenson versus Davis, not because it's a better fight stylistically or aesthetically, but because I want to see guys in their prime fighting each other. I mean, this whole idea of guys fighting older men, even though that older guy might still be better than everybody in the division, I'd like to see guys in their prime fighting each other. Is that too much to ask? But then again, those guys have age on their side, so maybe the caller is right. Maybe just make Davis Lomachenko now, and they could make the winner of that one versus Shakur Stevenson next year. Because I don't think Tank Davis gets past Lomachenko. Although I'm not as confident as I was 2-3 years ago, he could still. But I don't see Tank Davis outworking Lomachenko. If Lomachenko hurts his shoulder and starts doing the first 6 rounds like he did against Teofimo Lopez, then yeah. Davis might be able to squeak by a decision, but I don't know, man. He's not as active as Teofimo Lopez. He's not as active as Devin Haney, who was throwing a lot of shots in there at Lomachenko, even though Lomachenko was blocking them, a lot of them. He relies on those bombs, and if he doesn't land that bomb, what's he gonna do? I could see that the way I could see Tank Davis winning a decision, however, is if he manages to drop Lomachenko a couple of times, or maybe drops him 2 times in the fight, and then one round he wins it by wobbling Lomachenko. So right there he's got about he's ahead by 4 or 5 points respectively. And then all he has to do is win one more round or whatever, and boom, he gets a decision. He could win that fight that way. He doesn't necessarily have to knock Lomachenko out, but he would have to hurt him and put him in a bad state to really emphasize a win. Fellas, don't forget to hit the like, and don't forget that we are indeed here at the call-in show. I think I'm going to stay here, well, depending on how many calls we get, I'm going to stay here for another half hour. And so make sure to call in right away to get your spot in here. Let's go to 470. 470, you're in the air. 470, what's on your mind?
All right, it's Too Rich, a.k.a. Mr. I Respect the Belt. I got a channel on YouTube, Sports Eye. And it's kind of refreshing to, hear somebody with a real take when it comes to Tank. Because, I take a lot of flack because I've noticed some things. And on my channel, I kind of deal with boxing and psychology. So I kind of look at damage. I look at a lot of things like that. So I did a short on my channel, and what I was highlighting was after the end of the fight, now we know Tank fought Frank, which was the first what was called a slick black fighter. So that was his first slick black fighter that he faced. And what I noticed at the end of the fight, in the post-fight talk in the ring, the commentator asked Tank, was his face hurting? So, Tank took a lot of damage in that fight. Mm-hmm. And so I highlighted on the short that all the shots that was getting in from Frank. And what I attributed to that Tank has been taking so many light touches that he's really not prepared for a higher level, or at least Frank showed that you can't outbox Tank. Now, we know Tank got power, but Tank could be outboxed, and that's why he's losing these rounds. Now, he's relying heavy on the knockout. And so when these fighters start believing the hype and they believe in their knockout punches, they start to give up rounds. So to me, what I saw in that fight also in round 7 or 8, that Tank's corner emphatically told Tank, we need all these rounds. So to me, it's a pattern, like the beginning of a pattern brewing. So to take you back, I want to take you back to before Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. A lot of people look at that fight and just say, wow, Terrence Crawford knocked out Errol Spence, but not really. If we go back to the Errol Spence and Sean Porter fight, Sean Porter really gave Errol Spence that work. And Errol Spence won that fight split decision.
That's right.
So even with the knockdown, one judge said Sean Porter won that fight. And I had made a short before the Crawford fight showing them, hey, look, this is what Sean Porter was able to do. So what you're seeing is it's a pattern before the actual loss comes. You start to see signs of the loss brewing. Depending on the knockouts, getting down on the scorecard. Now you're going in there against Loma, a veteran. Now, I think Tank can knock Loma out, but I think Loma's going to really damage him. That's what I'm looking for, the damage. And if Loma can't get past him,
he's going to be a little bit more damaged for a Shakur by that next fight. He's going to be a little bit more damaged. So you got to understand, Mayweather, he took a lot more damage fighting Mosley and Zab Judah than he did against Canelo. So he was always concerned about the damage. So this is what you're starting to see out of Tank. He's getting a lot of damage. He's getting outboxed. All his sparring partners always say you can outbox Tank. So I do give Loma a chance. I think Loma needs to keep it in the center of the ring and make Tank box. He's not the boxer people think he is. He has to set up his punches. He has to set them up. So he's not really the boxer. He just has a high Q on setting his punches up and landing it. But if Loma can keep him in the middle of the ring and just make him boxing, and Loma's not good at boxing going backwards, so Loma going to have to keep it in the middle of the ring and possibly be coming forward. But he's going to cut Tank up good. Now, it's possible he can cut Tank eyes up with those angles and get Tank bleeding in the eyes or maybe compromise him in some way. But that's what I'm really looking for in this fight is how much damage can Loma cause to Tank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make some very salient points about the patterns. When you watch enough fights of a specific guy, it's one thing if he gets hit with a specific punch in one fight, and then you watch the other fights and he doesn't get hit with that very same shot. Then you can say, okay, that was a fluke or something. But when you start seeing a pattern throughout fights, that pattern is unlikely to change if he's going to be fighting a guy who can do that. But it seems like a lot of fans are unwilling to accept the reality. Like you showed in the video evidence. Like, I'll give you an example. Before Teofimo Lopez fought Lomachenko, I was talking about how he gets hit with a lot of jabs. And I made a compilation of him getting hit with jabs, flush. And I had 2 or 3 people in the comment section going, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm thinking the video was pretty straightforward. Teofimo Lopez is vulnerable to jabs. Here's the evidence. Even with the evidence right in front of them, they refuse to see it. So, sometimes you can do all the film study you want and show people the evidence, and they still refuse to see it because they're too, I don't know why. I mean, I can speculate. Maybe they like the guy too much, whatever, but that's what ends up happening. So, but you're right, though. There's a pattern with Tank Davis, and you made a very salient point that it's because of the opposition, too. It's not bad opposition, but it's been relatively soft compared to all their world-class lightweights, and so he's starting to get a little soft himself, and that could be dangerous taking on a hardened veteran like Vasyl Lomachenko. Hey, by the way, I looked for your channel, Sports Eye. I'm putting it up on the screen. Is this it? It's a lot of Pakistani sports. Are you Pakistani?
Let me see. I'm not.
Because it says Amir Khan angry on Pakistani government.
Man, I almost forgot where you're at. Cut it back on.
Are you Pakistani, by the way?
No. What I'm gonna do? I was on my tablet listening to the show. I'm gonna get on my phone. I'm gonna drop a link in the chat.
Okay.
Or you will see SSI. I'll leave a comment in the chat.
Well,
you can click on it from there.
I don't know if you can post links in the chat, but what's the name of the channel again?
It's Sports-SI. It's Sports-SI. I don't know if I leave a comment in the chat if you could click on my icon, but
yeah, you know what? Just leave the
sometimes it's hard to come up, man. It brings up Sports Illustrated and stuff like that. I don't know why.
Put the name of it because you can. I think for some reason you can't post the HTTP link in the chat, but if you post a name, I'll check it out.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I'll do that. All right.
Well, listen. Thank you for your call. Yeah, thank you for your call and call back next time, man. Take it easy out there.
Okay.
Yeah, but by the way, okay, Sports-SI. Why did I write Y then? Sports-SI. And you know what? Whenever you're looking for something that's related, you got to write the name and then boxing just to make sure. So let's see if it comes up. Sports-SI boxing. Yeah, he's right. Sports Illustrated comes out first. What the fuck? Yeah, that's weird, man. The other thing you can do, obviously, too, is if you go by filters and then you go channels. Where is it? Video channel. There you go. Channel. Off top of the sports, boxing, sports zone. Sports-SI. Maybe this is it. Yeah, there you go. I think this is it. It's a boxing channel. So I think this might be it, fellas. Sports-SI. Okay, and why did I put a hash then, I think? I got to tell you, I got to start learning this fucking English grammar thing because I'm misspelling everything here. Well, there you go. Let's watch one of his clips here. Hopefully he doesn't take us down.
And you were looking at your face in the monitor. It was a bit of a target. Is it hurting right now?
Yeah.
Did Frank Martin expose Gervonta Tank Davis? We could tell by Tank's face that these punches are getting through the guard. Now it should be evident why Floyd Mayweather kept Tank away from these slick black fighters. It's not that Tank couldn't win. It was about the amount of damage that Tank was going to have to take. You see, Floyd fought the Zab Judas and the Shane Mosley and took far more damage than he did against Canelo, if he took any damage at all. Frank is a good fighter, but he lacks the experience. And if Loma is next, Loma is coming with a whole lot of experience. And I expect Tank to knock out Loma in dynamic fashion. But the question is, how much damage will the Tank take? Too Rich, aka Mr. I Respect the Belts.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, though. Even
at your face.
Even if Tank Davis somehow pulls off a knockout, the caller is right. He's going to sustain damage in there. And the other thing that Lomachenko does to these guys is he sort of screws them up mentally, kind of like Bernard Hopkins used to do, because he controls these guys so much. I mean, there's a reason why nobody wants to fight Lomachenko a second time. Salido didn't want to do it. Lopez didn't want to do it, and Haney didn't want to do it. And I don't want to go all low place on you, because remember low place, he used to have the Adonis Stevenson curse, right? He said that anybody that was in the Adonis Stevenson sphere and that was an enemy of his ended up getting some sort of a comeuppance. I don't want to get conspiratorial here, but I suppose you could say the same thing about anybody that refuses to rematch Lomachenko. Orlando Salido, he refused to rematch Lomachenko. What happened? He ended up getting in a couple of wars with, Francisco Vargas. Then he ended up getting whooped by that short Mexican guy. What was his name? I'll remember his name. The guy who retired him. Then he ended up retiring, and he got, Salido got arrested for trying to steal liquor at a store. And then just recently, I don't know if you guys heard, he ended up running into a house and ended up killing people. And I think he killed at least one person. So he's going away for a long time now. Lopez, he refused to rematch Lomachenko, and then in his very next fight loses his titles. Haney, it took a little while, but he ended up getting whooped by Ryan Garcia, and now he's become a bit of a joke on social media. So if Tank Davis beats Lomachenko by close decision, I suggest he gives him a rematch. Otherwise, he might just be in line for some dangerous karmic energy coming back his way. I don't know. By the way, Superstar Donnie, yes, thank you. Miguel Roman. And by the way, that's the other thing I wanted to touch on in that video that SI Sports made is that, again, when people say that Tank Davis gives up rounds, he's giving them up, he's downloading data. You saw Frank Martin hitting him with some good, solid shots. Nobody gives away those type of shots. People make it out to be like those shots don't hurt. Believe me, those shots take their toll. So it's not that Tank Davis is giving them away. It's just that that's what he is. He's a guy that's a slow starter and whose defense is good defense when he wants to get on his bike and he can parry and change levels. But when he's just standing there trying to look for a counter, he can't do both things at the same time. I mean, I gotta be very specific. He can slip and counter. He can counter off certain defensive moves, but he can't do it all the time. His focus, if you were to rate it from 0 to 100, it's not 100. It's not a 90. It's not even a 95. It's more like an 80. So because of that, he's liable to get hit. And against Lomachenko, who's gonna be throwing so many moves at him, feinting, changing levels, in and out, punches from all angles. He's never fought a guy like that. The closest thing is Frank Martin, and Frank Martin is an inferior fighter, much inferior fighter to Lomachenko. So he's gonna be up against it. Let me tell you. What else was I gonna mention here? Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. And we still got about 15 minutes left here with the phone lines before we depart. So if you want to call in and give us your thoughts, make sure to do that. But I was going to touch on something about Tank Davis there, about the Tank Davis-Martin fight. Oh, yeah, I just remembered. Tank Davis, if you saw in those clips, he was fighting more aggressive, right? Which I can appreciate, because I would have criticized him for the Frank Martin fight, if he would have gotten on his bike the way he did against Barrios and Garcia and just try to look for one shot, he actually walked Martin down. But that's because he could do that against an inexperienced Martin. But you see him, see those shots getting through the guard? He was trying to fight like Canelo. If you watch Canelo fights, I know people don't give him credit for his defense. Some people say that his fights are rigged, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at how he actually deflects shots with his guard, he's very adroit at, first of all, tucking his chin in very well, moving the upper body along with that guard, and he's very good at parrying shots and deflecting those shots. Tank Davis essentially just put up the earmuffs, but he's not, see, it's not a dynamic guard. He's not moving the hand slightly so that the shots slide off that guard. He's just taking them full-on flush. And so against a guy like Frank Martin, who does have good power and good velocity on his shots, he was getting his head snapped back. And that's why, like Sports SI said, his face was marked up because those shots got through. And again, people like to pretend like, nah, he's giving away those shots. Believe me, he doesn't want to be getting hit with those shots. When they leave a mark like that, it means that they were powerful shots. And when they start snapping your head back, you feel those shots. They rattle the brain. They affect the spine long term. The spinal cord, so you can't move as much later on. So he's lucky, again, that he's being able to bail himself out with his power, but how long is that going to last for? Real quick, I see there's a super chat here. Shout out to Rafael Garza for his contribution with the super chat. He says, Tank ain't fighting Lomachenko. Well, that's the other thing is we don't know if that fight's even going to happen. They're saying they're negotiating, but last minute, you never know. Maybe they try to place the blame on Lomachenko's team that, we couldn't come up with a fight. Or they couldn't come up with something, or they were asking for this and they didn't really want the fight. So, that's the PBC way. Try to blame it on the other guy for the fight not happening. The other thing I wanted to mention, shout out to Thunderdome in the chat. Shout out to Thunderdome. Boxing Talk. I don't know if he's going live later on. If he is, whether he's or isn't, go check out his channel. One of the best on YouTube as far as I'm concerned. Excuse me. I need a little drink of water there. All right. So shout out to Thunderdome. And the other thing I want to say is this. Okay, so the other piece of news coming up here is, again, I haven't wanted to talk about Canelo in a while because it's just getting boring, especially as it pertains to a potential Berlanga or Eubank fight. But I do have to wonder. Again, I don't know. I'm not behind the scenes in the negotiations, blah, blah, blah. But David Benavidez could have pushed for his mandatory 2 weeks ago. The WBC gave him 2 weeks. Well, now it comes out they gave him another week. Hey, where is that? Hold on a sec. Yeah. Anyway, Mauricio Suleiman just posted that they're giving him another week to mull over whether he wants to stay at 175 or whether he wants to enforce his mandatory at 168 against Canelo. What is going on here? People say, Berlanga's a WBA, I think, WBA mandatory, so that's why Canelo would have to fight him. But then why doesn't Benavidez put himself into that place? Why is the Benavidez team demanding TV rights when they did negotiate? Why did the Benavidez team put out a fake number negotiation on Twitter? And then when Reynoso countered it, they said, we never heard of that number. They took it down. Again, they're playing mind tricks here on people. Again, I blame Canelo too for not being upfront with people. He likes to play games too. Like, hey, maybe I'll fight Berlanga. Maybe I'll fight Charlo. Maybe I'll fight Chris Eubank Jr. I don't know what's going on. And I know he's got a big ego. That's why he's not calling out Benavidez directly. But the Benavidez team also deserves flack for it. Benavidez is willing to fight everybody. I do think the guy is very, very good and very entertaining to watch. So I don't think he's unwilling to fight Canelo. But I do think his team are playing games. And so it's come out now that people are saying that the reason why they don't want to enforce the mandatory is because he would have to go to a purse bid. And that would mean that Benavidez' team would get less money than if they just negotiate outright. So it appears as if both sides are playing game. All I know is I don't understand why not with that, I do understand why now the Benavidez team refuses to enforce their mandatory. But it sort of goes against what the Benavidez team have been saying for a while, which is that they don't care about the money. It's not about the money for them. For them, it's about beating Canelo and taking his place as the face of boxing. But now all of a sudden they might be worried about the money. I don't know. This is why I loathe talking about negotiations and who's afraid of whom and what's gonna happen. Who's ducking who? 'Cause I don't know, man. One day it's one team complaining, then it's the other, then it's one team comes out with a reason why they shouldn't be fighting. It's like the meme says, it's also tiresome. I just want to see that fight. And if Canelo fights Eubank, you know what? If Canelo fights Eubank, I'm always up for seeing Eubank losing. But if he fights Berlanga, nah, I'm not paying for that one. Especially if Canelo would just be up front and say, hey, listen, we got this fight. It's going to be a tune-up, but then before the end of the year, we're definitely fighting either Crawford or Benavidez. Okay, then I'd be willing to at least consider paying for the tune-up fight. But if we don't know who he's fighting and he's leaving us in the dark, screw that, man. I got no time for Canelo versus Berlanga. I really don't. Berlanga's got a big punch, okay. Did he at any point hurt old-ass Angulo? Did he at any point hurt Rolls-Royce? This guy couldn't even wobble those dudes. You think he's going to go in there and knock Canelo out? Give me a break. Again, anything can happen, but those odds, I'm not willing to pay big bucks, pay-per-view style, for that 10% chance that maybe Berlanga gets a knockout. Sorry, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Not in my book. I'm done shelling out money for these type of pay-per-views. And this is coming from Mr. BDA, the guy who's got the finger. I got the finger on the pulse of the boxing world. I'm walking these YouTube streets, just like Kamala Harris.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets.
That's right.
Tight, yeah!
Haven't used the soundboard in a while. What do we got here?
That is it.
Oh, yeah, we got that.
Like, bro, for real. If he gonna be gay, let him be gay.
There you go. If a guy's going to be gay, let him be gay.
She liked it in the ass, Raymond. That's right. Right in the fucking ass.
Oh, what the fuck? It's supposed to be a family show. By the way, I just saw that there was a card in Eastern Europe, I think. 2 Olympians or amateurs just turned pro and they were going at it in Russia or whatever. And then I think Roy Jones came up into the ring and started rapping. Now, Roy Jones, just bad news for him. Obviously, he just a tragedy. Not that long ago, one of his kids ended up committing suicide. So I was surprised to see him at an event rapping. Hey, anything to get your mind off tragedy. You gotta in life, you gotta stay moving no matter what happens. If you stay sedentary and immobile, that's when the dark thoughts overtake you. But if you're on the move, no matter how hard it works or how hard it seems, eventually you get out of that negative funk. That's what I always say. So yeah, fellas, the phone lines are still open here in case anybody wants to call in. They're open for about 7 minutes. We got 7 minutes left. So make sure you call in. But yeah, that Tank versus Lomachenko fight, they're saying, we talked about it for close to an hour now, about how it could go down, blah, blah, but we didn't even tell you when it was going down. Apparently, the rumor is that it could be taking place in November. It could be taking place in November, so make sure to stay tuned for that one, if indeed it happens. But with the PBC, you just never know. You just never know. They pull off something tricky. They pull off a little joke, and this guy didn't really want it. And then as soon as those negotiations fall apart, they announce a fight against another PBC guy. Like they already had that one done. You know what I mean? So, and by the way, more weigh-in action. Raymond Muratalla weighed in at 134.1. Tevin Farmer weighed in at 134.7. And Muratalla, I don't know about you guys, he looks a little... these guys, they know what they're doing. They always grow up the beard. They always grow the beard so that they can hide that they're gaunt and emaciated. But he doesn't really look that bad in that photograph. So those are the weights that we had for that fight. Also in the news, apparently Chocolatito is fighting today on ESPN. So make sure to check that out. Also, other weigh-in news, Jaron Ennis weighed in at 146.4. Avenesyan right on the dot at 147. That's going to be taking place on the zone. I don't know, for some reason, Ennis looks very shiny there. I guess maybe he just stepped out of the sauna, maybe, to try to make weight. That guy, look at the size of him. Avenesyan is a decently sized welterweight. And look at the size of Jaron Ennis. I mean, I'm curious to see Ennis fight. I'm always curious to see how he looks. Very explosive fighter. Incredible mix of speed and power. Always eager to see him fight. But when he has an advantage like that of speed and power, and then on top of the size against a guy like Avenesyan, I don't know how excited I can get for that fight. But it's on the zone. It's free, so definitely looking forward to seeing that happen. Especially now that, ESPN, they still got that good main event going on, so. By the way, Eddie Hearn is predicting Madrimov to beat Terence Crawford, and, Madrimov is with Eddie Hearn, I think. So, of course, he would be saying that, but that's another fight that I'm interested in seeing. I know some people called in today and said that they weren't looking forward to it, but I'm looking forward to that fight, and then on top of the undercard for that event. Oof, it's got to be the best one so far, unless the Saudis can come up with another one later on this year. So far, this one takes the cake. Absolutely. What else? Well, that's what we got so far. I think we're going to call it wrap it up here because, again, the phone lines, there's a couple of minutes left, but I'm getting tired here. 4 minutes left. So, fellas, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget that hit that like. I want to give a shout out to everybody that donated with the super chat, everybody that called in, and everybody, of course, in the chat. Super Sudoni says, do a second Renaissance. I mean, I would have to maybe take a break or something. Maybe some sort of a coffee or something, get a second wind. I think I could get a second wind, but I don't know, man. I don't know. And then on top of that, I get very tired doing those second Renaissance watch-along shows where we just watch a bunch of videos. If I'm talking, I hype myself up. But if I'm just watching stuff along with people, then I get very, very tired. But shout out to, like I said, shout out to everybody that joined us with the super chat, everybody that called in, and of course, everybody that listened, everybody that's in the chat right now. Always appreciate you guys listening to this show and supporting us, hitting that like, spreading the BDA gospel. And that's about it, fellas. Again, thanks for watching. Oh, hold on a second. Last minute super chat here. Rafael Garza, shout out to Rafael Garza, who says, Janibek wants the Canelo payday. Well, everybody wants the Canelo payday. Everybody wants it. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And some guys, they get it, and they rest on their laurels, like Jermell Charlo. He ran around for 12 rounds, got paid beaucoup money, and now he can sit back and try to rein his brother in, prevent him from shooting up a mole or something. But shout out to you, fellas. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Always appreciate you guys calling in and listening to the show. What are people in the chat saying? Hasta luego. Right back at you guys. People enjoy the show. All right. Well, listen. Thanks again, fellas. Really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. No intro, no outro. Gotta go, guys. Gotta go get the